If you drop this creature into a sci-fi movie, nobody would question it. Spikes covering every inch of its body, a fake head growing out of the back of its neck, skin that funnels rainwater and dew directly into its mouth without it ever needing to find a puddle. This is not CGI. This is not a fossil. This animal is alive right now, walking across the red sand deserts of Central Australia. And almost everything about it seems like it was designed for a different planet. The thorny devil is one of the strangest reptiles on Earth. It grows to about 8 inches long, roughly the size of a human hand, and weighs about 40 grams, less than a tennis ball. But what it lacks in size, it makes up for in pure biological weirdness. Every surface of its body is covered in sharp conical spikes, hundreds of them, from its head to its tail, across its legs, even around its eyes. It looks like a creature that crawled out of a medieval painting of a dragon, then got shrunk down and dropped into the Australian outback. But those spikes are not just for defense. They are actually part of one of the most sophisticated water collection systems ever found in nature. Here is how it works. Between every single spike running along the thorny devil's skin, there are microscopic grooves, channels so small you would need a magnifying glass to see them. These channels pull moisture from rain, from morning dew, even from damp sand, and move it across the lizard's entire body using capillary action. The water travels along these tiny highways between the scales, all the way to the corners of its mouth. The thorny devil does not need to find a pond or a stream. It can stand in light rain or on wet sand, and the water moves to its mouth on its own. Researchers have even observed these lizards shoveling damp sand onto their backs to trigger the process. Scientists at RWTH Aachen University in Germany and the University of Western Australia have spent years studying this mechanism, trying to replicate it for human water harvesting technology. They have published multiple papers on it, and they still have not fully matched what this small lizard does passively with nothing but its own skin. But the water trick is not even the strangest thing about it. On the back of the thorny devil's neck, there is a large rounded lump that looks almost exactly like a second head. When a predator approaches, the thorny devil tucks its real head down between its front legs and presents this fake head instead. The predator strikes at what it thinks is the vulnerable skull of its prey, but it is biting into a knob of soft, fatty tissue covered in spikes, with no brain, no eyes, and no vital organs underneath. This decoy confused scientists for a long time. Unlike other lizards that can drop their tails to escape, the thorny devil cannot detach this false head. It stays permanently attached. Researchers eventually concluded it works not as a sacrificial lure, but purely as misdirection. Predators bite the wrong target, get a mouthful of spines and fat, and the thorny devil walks away. Specimens have been found in the wild with visible bite marks on the false head, confirming it takes real hits during attacks. And then there is the colour shifting. The thorny devil can change from pale yellow to dark reddish brown depending on the temperature. In the cool morning air near Alice Springs, it turns darker to absorb more heat from the sun. As the desert heats up in the afternoon, it lightens to reflect sunlight. Not as dramatic as a chameleon, but constant and automatic, like a living thermostat. Now, you would think an animal this well armed would be an apex predator, something aggressive, something dangerous. Not even close. The thorny devil eats ants. Only ants, nothing else. It finds a trail of small black ants marching across the red desert floor, parks itself next to the line, and picks them off one at a time with a short, sticky tongue. Up to 45 per minute, for hours. A single feeding session can involve eating anywhere from 600 to 2,500 individual ants. It is like watching the most patient, most heavily armoured anteater on the planet do its grocery shopping. Everything about this animal feels like a contradiction. It is covered in weapons, but eats the smallest prey imaginable. It has a fake head, but almost never gets into fights. It can harvest water from damp sand, but lives in one of the driest places on the continent. Biologists have been studying the thorny devil since John Edward Gray first described it in 1841, and new discoveries about its physiology are still showing up in research journals nearly 2 centuries later. Its water-channeling skin alone has inspired patents in materials science and proposals for desert architecture. For a creature that weighs less than a tennis ball, the thorny devil might be the most over-engineered animal alive. And if you saw one walking across your kitchen floor, your first instinct would not be to grab a field guide. It would be to wonder what planet it came from. If you found this one fascinating, hit subscribe. I cover the strangest biology on the planet every week.